when you deal with claims in your face, you have to measure it against something. You know, whether it's a policy, whether it's an endorsement, whether it is previous claims, and a basic set of rules that apply. So, to do this fire justice, I've looked on the internet, I've discussed it with business colleagues, and the only event that closely come and match this, it might be bigger, but we've forgotten about it. That surely was the Great Fire of London in 1666, which was the birthplace and the reason why we're all sitting here today. It's building insurance, house owners insurance. We're going to start with a little map as a geographical point. You can see the north side, and it shows you the direction of the wind. The general area where the fire started was over there, and as it said, southwest, west, went straight up, and the only thing stopping it was the sea and the canal. But closer, this is the actual area where the fire originated, and it very rapidly spread from house to house. And the interesting part is it actually jumped the road, jumped the canal more than one occasion. And what was very interesting in this fire was the main access roads were completely blocked off by heat, wind, dust, smoke. We'll show you some photographs. So this is the main access road towards the burnt houses. This one actually is a dead end. That one's got a small bridge with a low capacity. So, you know, you're just stuck. You can't get to it. And even if you were lucky to get to it, you'd be too late, because it's at least 45 minutes drive from Humansdorp for a fire engine, more than an hour and a half from the closest city, which is Elizabeth. So by default, there was no stopping this fire. Nature stopped it himself along the end of the canal, and fortunately the fire brigade could do the secondary dosing and closing of it. We then started with the evaluation process, obviously to determine whether they're adequately insured or not. And there we had excellent support from our quantity surveyor. We crunched numbers for days on end, and we compared actual drawings, footprints, we remeasured, we recalculated, and we did it again to make sure our costs were solid. Once we've received feedback from our professional team, we identified certain elements that could be salvaged for both the insured and the insurer, such as foundations, footprints, jetties, canals, and improvements that was not damaged. We presented the documents and the engineer's reports to every homeowner across the world. In respect of the demolition, after careful consideration and looking at our own professional team's reports and some second opinions by homeowners with their own engineers, we've identified that in most cases the foundations and slabs were reasonably solid, and we've agreed with the demolishers to actually demolish the buildings down to foundation and floor slab height. Unfortunately, the St. Francis municipal requirements has very strict limits and height restrictions. So, and one of the particular concerns were that the DPC underlay, which is the plastic underneath the slab, has to be signed off by an structural engineer. If that was not achieved, the floor slab had to be demolished. Otherwise, they simply would not accept new plans, they would not approve the reinstatement, and we're back to square one. So that resulted in additional cost, and we arranged with the engineers to re-inspect the foundations and to dig inspection holes and to check every foundation individually, which I can happily say we've lost nothing. All of them were salvaged. Single most questioned item in my mind from this exercise that proved very, very difficult to answer and which was slowing down the claims, was a simple word like the sum insured. We all know what it is. It's the value, limit of indemnity as stated on the schedule, or is it? And then we asked very pertinent questions as to who elects the sum insured, who calculates the sum insured, how was it calculated, and what supports the sum insured. Now, starting with the sum insured creates an expectation, because if you deal with a small claim, it's reasonably simple. The sum insured is just a number, because you'll never get to it. But when you deal with a house that's completely burned down, the sum insured is the first monetary value that you look at in your schedule. I'm paying premium and I want that amount of money. Or is of the view that the St. Francis fire was devastating and it was catastrophic, but I'm convinced that our industry has met the challenge really well, and we've settled many claims very quickly. And I trust that, as it's our passion as insurance people, that this going forward will also be recorded in history, because 50 years from now, this is going to be the topic saying, referred to that fire in St. Francis.